The series, which holds the highest viewership worldwide, begins with Wednesday waking up tied up in a room full of dolls. Wednesday tells us that she's trapped in the lair of a serial killer, and this person thinks he can overpower her. But what he doesn't know is that Wednesday will be his last victim. Wednesday explains to us how she ended up in this predicament, saying she spent her vacation studying her psychic abilities through a book of spells by Judi, and that she was able to gain control over her powers. During that time, she discovered someone known as the Head Flayer, named so because he skins the heads of his victims. He managed to do this to 11 victims, all of them girls. Through touching a bowling ball that the Head Flayer had touched, Wednesday used her powers to locate his whereabouts. To trap him, she decided to travel there herself. At the airport, security stopped her and asked her to remove any steel tools or coins. But Wednesday shocks them when she pulls out an overwhelming number of sharp tools as if she's a butcher, not a teenage girl. The security officer watching the baggage scanner tells the others to inspect Wednesday's bag because there's something strange in it. The bald officer finds Thing inside the bag, and Wednesday tells them it's a fake hand she's bringing to a taxidermy conference. So, security lets her through. Wednesday successfully tracks down the Head Flayer, and the moment she touches him, her visions begin. But strangely, black tears stream from her eyes, and she loses consciousness. When she wakes up, she finds the Head Flayer approaching her to do to her what he did to his victims. But with Thing's help, she distracts him using a doll toy, and Thing manages to take down the serial killer. Later, we see on the news that he was successfully arrested. Wednesday then reveals in her thoughts that the black tears were just a glitch, nothing more. But things aren't that simple, dear viewer. So hang tight, hit that like button, and subscribe to the channel because things are about to explode. Wednesday goes with her mother, father, and brother to Nevermore Academy for Outcasts, and we learn that her brother will also be attending the school with her. Her parents are going to stay with them for a while at the beginning of the new academic year. It's clear that Wednesday's brother, Pugsley, has developed his powers significantly and can control them much better than before. On another note, we cut to a photographer spying on two people, taking pictures and secretly watching them. Suddenly, a raven appears with one normal eye and one damaged eye, and strangely, more ravens begin to gather. Dozens of them cover the tree and even the car. Suddenly, they attack the photographer, but he manages to get inside the car just in time. The photographer sends a voice message to an unknown person, someone we don't yet know, saying that the evidence is in the basement in case he doesn't make it. The ravens then fully attack the photographer and kill him. Meanwhile, Wednesday arrives at the school with her family, and her mother advises her to look after her brother. But Wednesday warns him not to approach her unless he files an official request first. Wednesday is surprised to find that the students at school are obsessed with her and want to talk to her because she's now super famous after saving the school from destruction. Then Bianca shows up to move the new students away from Wednesday and welcomes her to the new school year. Bianca walks off, and the new headmaster of Nevermore Academy appears and introduces himself to Wednesday. His name is Barry Dort. He tells Wednesday that he plans to reinstate the founder's bonfire ceremony and wants her to be the student of honor, but Wednesday refuses and walks away. It's clear this new principal is hiding something big, and we'll uncover it soon. So, don't worry, dear viewer. Wednesday arrives at her room to find it in complete chaos, full of students. Then Enid shows up to welcome her and asks all the students in the room to leave. The last person to show up is Bruno, Enid's new boyfriend. Enid tells Wednesday that her summer vacation was amazing and gives her a t-shirt as a gift. In return, Wednesday gives her one of the Head Flayer's dolls as a present and informs her that the doll's hair is real, not fake. Wednesday lets Enid know that she doesn't want any disturbances because she's going to continue working on her new novel. She finished the one she'd been writing for 2 years, and now she's starting a new one. Just then, Ajax knocks on the door, and Enid hides from him. Wednesday tells him that Enid isn't there and slams the door in his face. We find out that Enid is ignoring Ajax and is focused on her new boyfriend, Bruno, even though she tells Wednesday that Ajax has always been good to her, but she just doesn't feel the same attraction to him as she does to Bruno. At that moment, an arrow suddenly hits near them, with a picture of Wednesday and the principal attached to it, and on the photo is written, "Hello, Wednesday, I'm watching you." Wednesday tries to use her powers, but she sees nothing, and black tears start streaming from her eyes. She refuses to tell Enid the reason behind those tears. Meanwhile, we see Pugsley being dropped off by his mom and dad to the room he'll share with his schoolmates. A friendship begins to form between Pugsley and Eugene, the beekeeping kid. Eugene shows Pugsley his power. He can control insects, and he tells Pugsley that he owes his life to Wednesday. On the other hand, Wednesday and her family meet with the principal, who tells them that many donors have pulled their funding from the school and that they are in desperate need of money and donations to keep the school running. He asks Morticia Addams and Gomez to make a donation, and then he shows them the place where they'll be staying during their time at the school. Morticia tells Wednesday, "I'll be your guide. You can always come to me." But Wednesday replies, "You're a dove, and I'm a raven." Her mother tells her that she has experience with ravens, and Wednesday responds by saying, "You've never told me about Aunt Ophelia before." We come to understand that Morticia had a sister named Ophelia who possessed the same powers as Wednesday. While Wednesday is walking through the forest, she sees the police investigating the case of the photographer who was attacked by the ravens. She notices someone nearby and decides to follow him, only to discover it's Galpin. He tells her that the photographer was his colleague and that they had been working together on a case. He also reveals that the photographer had uncovered a very important secret, one that could impact all outcasts. But someone stopped him and did what they did to him. Galpin asks Wednesday to help him, but she refuses. He then tells her to come back to him if she changes her mind. Meanwhile, Ajax and the other new students are gathered as Ajax tells them a story from Nevermore Academy's history. Once upon a time, there was a smart boy with a weak heart. He was always sick in bed, but incredibly skilled at drawing machines. One day, the boy managed to design a mechanical heart that could replace his failing one. He successfully implanted it, and his condition improved. The boy became very famous, and everyone at the school praised him as a genius. But one day, that same genius was the reason his life came to an end. The legend says he's buried at an unmarked grave, and if you get close to it and listen carefully, you can still hear the ticking gears of his mechanical heart. This story captivates Pugsley and grabs his full attention. At the same time, the headmaster summons Bianca and asks her to be the student liaison for fundraising. Although Bianca refuses, the headmaster threatens to expel her since she was admitted on a scholarship, not through paid tuition, leaving her with no choice but to accept. Meanwhile, Wednesday plays a short piece on her cello, and we see someone removing her eyes from a photo. At the end of her performance, a new teacher named Miss Cabra walks in on Wednesday. We learn that Miss Cabra is the music teacher, and it becomes clear that she's hiding a big secret. When Wednesday arrives, she finds that Xavier has sent her a painting of a raven. He tells her he doesn't know the meaning behind the artwork, but he keeps seeing it in his dreams and is convinced it has something to do with her. The painting shows a raven with one good eye and one damaged eye, perched on a tombstone. Wednesday then realizes that her novel, the one she spent 2 years writing, has gone missing. The mysterious person watching her informs her that the book will be burned along with the statue during the upcoming ceremony, and she must find it or lose it forever. Wednesday immediately sets off to search for the manuscript. Meanwhile, Pugsley tells his friends that he plans to sneak away during the bonfire ceremony and go dig up the grave of the boy with the mechanical heart. On the other side, Wednesday finds a note in her pocket that reads, "If you don't want your novel to burn, go inside the bonfire." She takes the risk and enters the bonfire structure to look for the book. At the same time, the students begin burning the statue and use their powers to make it rise into the air. It's a majestic scene as the eagle-shaped statue soars into the sky, and everyone present is left in awe of its beauty and grandeur. While this spectacle unfolds, Wednesday is still inside the bonfire searching for her book, and with difficulty, she finally finds it and escapes. The principal then introduces her as the student of honor and asks her to give a speech to the rest of the students. He reveals a painting he made of her and her friends, commemorating their role in saving the school. However, Wednesday is upset because in the painting she's smiling, and she never smiles in real life. Furious, she steps onto the stage to speak. She grabs the mic and tells the students that they're fools for celebrating something like this. Suddenly, she sets the painting on fire in front of the shocked audience and walks away. Meanwhile, her brother goes to the grave to listen for the heartbeats, but he accidentally uses his powers on the grave, which causes the boy to come back to life. The boy rises from the grave looking like a zombie, and strangely, this makes Pugsley laugh. Back to Wednesday. She suddenly falls into a coma and finds herself in a vision standing before a tombstone with Enid's name on it. Enid appears and tells her, "What happened to me is because of you." Wednesday wakes up with black tears streaming from her eyes and immediately asks about Enid. Her mother reassures her that Enid is fine and tells her not to worry. She also explains that she knows the meaning behind the black tears. It's called psychic exhaustion. It's a result of misusing her powers. Her mother advises her to let go of Goody's book, warning her that it will destroy her. But Wednesday refuses and walks away. She heads to Galpin's house, only to discover that he has died in the exact same way the photographer did, surrounded by a massive number of ravens. Wednesday tries to use her powers to see what happened to Galpin, but her abilities fail. At that moment, the police arrive and arrest her. During the interrogation, Wednesday refuses to say anything. Then Gomez Addams, Wednesday's father shows up and tells the detective that he's a lawyer and that his daughter is being interrogated without a warrant. He takes her with him. The next day, Pugsley shows his friend Eugene that he successfully captured the genius boy with the mechanical heart, and they both decide to keep him hidden in the shed until they figure out what to do with him. When Wednesday returns, she's shocked to find that Enid was just pranking her, and Enid is actually alive. Then, back in her room, Wednesday discovers someone has left her Sheriff Galpin's eyeball. And even more disturbing, an anonymous sender has sent her photos of herself that were taken from Enid's phone. Enid tells Wednesday that she has a driving test and leaves. Wednesday then decides to visit Tyler to ask him about his father, Galpin. It's revealed that she shows up at the DMV impersonating Enid in order to pass the driving test and reach the facility where Tyler Galpin is being held. Dr. Fairborn greets Wednesday and takes her to see Tyler. Wednesday tells Tyler what happened to his father, and also that his photographer partner Bradbury died the same way. She asks him if he had anything to do with what happened, but Tyler denies it. Strangely, Tyler suddenly says, "Say hi to Enid. I'll finish her off the next time I see her." Meanwhile, Wednesday tells him, "You're useless. I don't need to see you again," and leaves him. On the other hand, Enid and Bruno are attacked by a mysterious person who locks up Thing. When Wednesday returns, she receives a call on Enid's phone informing her that she has to search in a certain way to find her friend before her life ends. We see that Enid and Bruno are chained up at the big clock, and above them are many swords about to fall on them at any moment. Wednesday keeps searching until she finds a mask with "Time is running" written on it. She concludes that since it's about time, Enid must be trapped inside the clock. At that moment, we see Enid and Bruno's relationship deepen, and they fall in love. Wednesday arrives, but it's too late, and the swords begin to fall on Enid and Bruno. Wednesday tries to go down and solve the puzzle to stop the gears and save them. She succeeds in solving the puzzle and saves her friend at the last moment. At that point, the girl obsessed with Wednesday appears and tells her that she's the one who did the prank. She also tells her that her name is Agnes DeMille, and she did all this to prove her worth to Wednesday, and that she deserves to be her friend. That's because Wednesday ignored her at first, thinking she was just a young, inexperienced fangirl. But in reality, Agnes turned out to be a genius, matching Wednesday in her brilliance. Wednesday asks Agnes if she was the one who did that to Galpin and the photographer. Agnes completely denies it and says she knows nothing about the matter. They all go down in the elevator and leave Agnes to go down alone. At the same time, Bianca goes to Wednesday's mother and uses her powers on her, convincing her that donating is her top priority and that she must donate to the school fund. Then she leaves. Meanwhile, Wednesday is sitting with Thing and tells him, "I have to get my powers back so I can save Enid. What I saw in the dream won't change unless I get my powers back." Then, we go to the person in charge of the driving test, and suddenly, the genius zombie boy appears and eats him, finishing him off. The next day, Wednesday's mom tells her husband that she's working on collecting donations for the school party. She says, "I don't know why, but yesterday I felt an urgent need to call Mom, so I asked her to be the guest of honor at the party." When Wednesday's dad notices that she's anxious and upset about the idea of inviting her mom, he decides to distract her, so he plays music so they can share a bit of romantic dancing. At that moment, Wednesday's mom has a vision of her daughter sneaking into her room to take Goody's book. She goes to her right away and says, "You think you can come in here and take the book without me noticing, huh? Anyway, why do you want the book?" So Wednesday tells her about the vision she had at the cemetery and that it showed she'll be the reason Enid's life ends. "I want to reach the person who will finish her before they get to her. I need the book, Mom, to enhance my ability to see the events." Her mom replies, "So you want to go and risk your life just like you did when you were chasing the serial killer? No, I'll never give you that book no matter what happens. And from now on, I don't want you risking your life and looking into this killer matter." Wednesday doesn't like what she hears and keeps telling her, "I want to search for answers to save my friend." But her mom tells her, "You're not as patient as your Aunt Ophelia. She was just like you until she ended up going crazy. I won't let myself ever watch you walk her path." And she refuses to give Goody's book to Wednesday. Later in her room, Agnes comes to her and offers to help, but Wednesday doesn't welcome the idea. She tells her, "I'm going to Galpin's funeral, and when I come back, I don't want to see you again." Wednesday does go to the funeral, where the sheriff and the therapist are also present. The sheriff walks away, leaving Wednesday and the therapist. Wednesday asks her, "Did Galpin visit Tyler in the asylum?" She told her, yes, just once. But Tyler was extremely angry, so he transformed to the point where he almost destroyed the cell bars if they hadn't intervened and shocked him. Wednesday told her, I've been looking into the killer, and be aware, he has the ability to tame the raven to work for him. The doctor said, don't worry, there's no patient in our asylum with that ability, so most likely the criminal is from outside the asylum. Wednesday thanked her for the information and left, and we see that the raven is watching them. To learn more about the criminal, Wednesday goes to Agnes and asks her to help unlock Galpin's phone. Agnes asks her friend to shapeshift into Galpin so they can use the facial recognition to open the phone. Agnes asked, so does this mean I'm officially in your investigation group now? Wednesday said, I see your presence as useful, so you can go now, and when I need you, I'll call you. Wednesday listens to the last voice message Carl left for Galpin before the ravens finished him off. The message says that all the evidence is in the cabin. Wednesday keeps searching to figure out where that cabin is until she discovers its location from the photos she has. It's in the same place where the school is going for camp tomorrow. The next day, she goes with the school to the camp to search for the cabin Carl mentioned. She finds her brother arriving with a coffin, so she asks him, what's the deal with this coffin? But she doesn't get a chance to hear the answer because she's surprised to see that Dad and Mom have come to attend the camp with them. When she asks, why are you here? They say, the school principal asked the parents to attend this camp to show how well he's able to run the school professionally. Eugene goes to Wednesday's brother and asks him, why do you have fireworks in front of our tent? He replies, these aren't fireworks. It's an alert system in case the zombie comes out of the tent. Eugene says, and why on earth did you let him come here? Now he could cause a disaster or kill someone. At that moment, Dad shows up and asks his son about the sound coming from the tent. So he and his friends start distracting him with talk so he won't go in and search the tent and find the zombie. After a while, the principal gathers the students and starts telling them about the history and legacy of this camp and how they finally got it as outcasts instead of it being reserved for regular humans. But at that moment, a scout team barges in with their coach, who's very angry. He says, we booked this camp today. Can I know what you and your outcasts are doing here? The principal replies, well, I booked it today too. Look, here's my contract. The coach says, I don't care, and then turns to his team and says, kick the outcasts out of the camp by 4 o'clock. Wednesday steps in and says, no, that's not going to happen. If you want to take the camp, you have to deserve it. So we'll have a competition between us, and the team that wins gets to stay in the camp. The coach and the principal agree, and the competition is set between the two teams. The challenge is that each team has an egg to protect. The team that manages to steal the other team's egg and reach the top of the tower with it wins. At the beginning of the competition, the coach's team is winning. But with Wednesday's intelligence and strategy, she manages to steal the egg from them and starts heading to the tower to place the egg on top. However, one of the rival team members also has an egg and is about to reach the top. Here, Wednesday uses a grappling hook and pulls a stunt that lets her descend from a cliff straight to the top of the tower. She successfully places her team's egg there, winning the competition. As a result, the coach's team is kicked out of the camp. A bit later, Wednesday grabs her bag and heads off to find the cabin and discover what evidence is inside. Meanwhile, the coach tells his team, I don't like that you lost. We need to sneak into the camp and take it from the outcasts by force. Wednesday reaches the cabin and finds a hidden wall with a map showing all the outcasts who had been in the psychiatric hospital and how their lives ended 15 years ago. Above all the names and photos of the outcasts is the name Louise. Wednesday says, most likely, Louise is the one who took them out, and she's probably the one trying to finish off Enid. So she decided to start looking for this Louise in order to save her friend before it's too late. Meanwhile, back at the camp, we see the coach's team in disguise sneaking toward the camp to infiltrate it. Wednesday, in order to solve the mystery, needs the book of Jodi. So she goes to her mother and says, I know you won't give me the book no matter how many times I ask. So I challenge you to a duel, and if I beat you, you have to give the book back to me. Her mother agrees, and the two of them begin a sword duel. Meanwhile, at the camp, the coach leads his team to break into the tent where the zombie is. Because of the fireworks, he trips and falls into the tent, which gives the zombie the upper hand to finish him off and eat his brain. Then, the zombie grabs an axe and starts walking around the camp, trying to take out as many people as possible. Because, as we know, every time he eats someone, his flesh regenerates. He enters the bathroom behind Wednesday's dad and is just about to finish him off, if it weren't for his son arriving at the perfect moment and shocking the zombie, forcing him out of the bathroom. The zombie heads into the forest. At the same time, Wednesday's mom defeats her in the duel, which means Wednesday will never be able to get the book from her. But then she sees the zombie about to kill her mom, so she stabs him in the head with the sword to save her. An ambulance from the psychiatric hospital arrives and takes the zombie to be one of their outcast patients. In that moment, Wednesday notices that the killer is watching her from a distance, him and his raven, but he disappears in the blink of an eye. So she heads to her room and starts laying the evidence she found in the cabin to try to figure out who the killer is and who Louise might be. Meanwhile, at the hospital, the doctor says to her assistant, "We received a new patient today, and I want you to make sure she has maximum protection. That patient is Marilyn, the one responsible for turning Tyler into his monstrous form." The next day, Dr. Fairborn summons Marilyn to her office and asks her, "What did you do to Tyler? I need to know his exact condition so I can treat him." Marilyn replies, "I'll tell you everything you want to know, but on one condition, that you let me stay here permanently as a patient, not as a prisoner." Dr. Fairborn says, "Unfortunately, that's not up to me. It's up to the court. And since you're refusing to talk, I'll proceed with treating Tyler using the standard brutal methods." At that moment, Marilyn's heart breaks for Tyler, and she says, "Fine, I'll tell you everything, but I have one request. Let me go to his cell and see him." Dr. Fairborn agrees and takes her to see Tyler. As soon as he sees her, he transforms into the monster and is about to finish her off. She keeps begging him to let her go, telling him she'll get him out of here, until he throws her into the middle of the room. On the other side, we go to Wednesday, who's inspecting the graves of the outcasts who were wiped out 15 years ago. At that moment, her grandmother shows up and asks, "Why are you digging around in these graves?" Wednesday tells her, "Because it's connected to the investigation I'm working on. Look, all these patients were in the psychiatric hospital, and they all died and were cremated right here. This is all tied to a vision I had of Enid, where her life ends because of me." At that moment, we see the killer's raven spying on her, clearly already aware of all Wednesday's moves before she even makes them. The grandmother decides to help and smells the urn to check if there's a human inside or not. And the surprise is, the urns contain animal ashes. Right then, the raven swoops in, grabs the evidence from Wednesday, and flies off. Wednesday runs after it, but doesn't manage to catch it. She goes back to her grandmother and tells her, "I want you to buy this graveyard and find out who authorized the burial of these fake urns." The grandmother agrees. Helping her granddaughter will really annoy her daughter, and that's exactly what she wants. Wednesday heads back to her room, deep in thought about how to solve this mystery. Agnes enters and says, "I'm at your service, ready to solve this killer mystery together, hand in hand." Wednesday told her, "The answer to the mystery is inside the psychiatric hospital, and I know exactly who can gather the information we need from the inside." She meets with her uncle Fester and asks him to infiltrate the hospital. Fester replies, "I know that hospital well. I've been there before. Your mother asked me to go in and look for your Aunt Ophelia." Wednesday is shocked to learn that her aunt has been in that hospital all this time, and she never even knew or visited her. She asks her uncle to gather all the information he can about Lewis, but without letting Dr. Fairborn know that he's connected to her. Fester heads to a hotel and requests a private suite. Then he pays using stolen cash and starts causing chaos, breaking things in the room and making a scene. The hotel manager calls the police, and they come to arrest him and begin questioning him. Fester keeps acting completely unhinged, forcing them to take him to the psychiatric hospital. Meanwhile, Wednesday goes to her mother and asks, "Why did you send Aunt Ophelia to that specific psychiatric hospital?" Her mother replies, "That's a question you should be asking your grandmother. She's the one who made that call." Wednesday insists, "No, you know why. You're just hiding it from me. Please, tell me the truth." Her mother finally admits, "One day we found her screaming, with black tears running from her eyes. It was because she had pushed her abilities too far. That's why your grandmother sent her to the hospital. She believed she'd gone insane." At that moment, the grandmother shows up and hands Wednesday the deed to the cemetery, then whispers in her ear, Augustus was the one who signed the death certificates. Wednesday leaves, and her mother and grandmother stay behind talking. We see that the relationship between them is strained. The grandmother tells her daughter, "You called me because you wanted me to donate to the school. I don't mind donating, but on one condition, you give the book back to Wednesday." Her mother replies, "What book? My daughter isn't up for negotiation between us." She grabs the book and throws it into the fire to end the conversation and shut down any deal. Meanwhile, at the hospital, Dr. Fairborn receives Fester and begins speaking with him to assess whether he's genuinely mentally ill or just faking it. From her conversation with him, she realizes that he had been committed to many mental institutions when he was young, and she starts to notice that he's actually insane. But she becomes certain of his mental condition when the assistant brings her his brain scan, which confirms he is mentally ill. So she took him and kept electrocuting and torturing him, and he didn't care at all. He was actually enjoying it. During his time at the institution, Fester kept looking around and asking anyone he saw about someone named Louis, until one day he sees that the cafeteria worker's name is Louis. He keeps flirting with her until he manages to get into the storage room with her, but then he discovers that her name is Louise, not Louis. At the school, Agnes brings information about Augustus to Wednesday and tells her that he's still alive but mentally ill in the asylum. At that moment, Enid sees her and starts confronting her, saying, "How long are you going to keep hanging out with Agnes and not want to stop or go out with me?" Wednesday doesn't get a chance to explain what's going on because the criminal shows up with his crows and attacks them. The principal comes and fights the crows with fire, and Wednesday sees the criminal hiding in a black cloak, watching them from the window, so she runs after him to catch him, but he disappears. She finds Dr. Fairborn and starts suspecting that she is the mysterious person and says to her, "I think this cloak belongs to you, and what are you even doing here?" The doctor tells her, "No, that cloak isn't mine. I'm here to meet the music teacher because I want her to come teach the patients how to play the piano." Wednesday keeps being suspicious of the whole thing. Even when the music teacher arrives, she's suspicious of her too because she was out of breath. That's why she had Thing ride in the car with the doctor to follow them and find out if she's the mysterious person or not. At that moment, her mom shows up and says, "Why did you send your uncle to the mental hospital? You and I both know he doesn't let anyone arrest him unless he's on a mission. So why did you send him?" Wednesday tells her, "I sent him so he could uncover the truth and find out who's threatening the life of my friend Enid." Her mom says to her, "That same person is the one who attacked us today with the crows." "My daughter, if you don't listen and keep doing what you want, you're going to ruin everything, and we might not be able to save you." Thing arrives at the hospital and informs Fester that he has to look for Augustus because he knows everything. Fester goes and meets Augustus, who stays silent and refuses to speak. He has a parrot with him, so Fester tries to get the parrot to talk in hopes of learning anything. But the parrot only says a series of numbers in a row. We go back to Wednesday, who visits the man with just a head and asks him about Augustus. She asks, "Do you know who Louis is? Could she be his wife or something?" He tells her no. When he arrived here, his wife had already passed away, but he had a daughter he loved very much, so I believe that's who Louis is. Back at the hospital, Lauren meets Fester and recognizes him. That's how she realizes Wednesday is planning something today. Augustus points toward the maintenance room and keeps saying Louis, so Fester understands that Louis must be inside that room. Lauren sits with the doctor and asks her to let her help treat Tyler, but the doctor refuses. So Lauren says, "Okay, I'll tell you a serious secret in exchange for letting me assist in your sessions with Tyler." She reveals to her that the new patient who just joined is Wednesday Addams, Wednesday's uncle. That means Wednesday definitely sent him to spy on them and uncover their secrets. Immediately, the doctor has Fester arrested before he can open the maintenance room door. At that moment, Thing sees what happened and rushes to inform Wednesday. She tells him, "Go back to Fester and keep an eye on him until I find a way to get in." Wednesday gathers with Agnes and Enid and lays out the plan. She tells them, "The music teacher has a piano lesson at the asylum, so I'll hide in the trunk of her car. As for you, Agnes, you'll distract security so they don't notice me." Enid asks, "And what about me? Are you done with me now or what?" Wednesday replies, "You'll keep watch over the whole place and warn us if anything happens." And indeed, they head to the hospital. There, Agnes goes into the security room bathroom and plants firecrackers. That way, the security guards get distracted by what's happening, and Wednesday is able to get out of the car trunk before they search it. With the help of Louise, who has fallen in love with Fester, Wednesday manages to enter the asylum without being searched, as she hides in the food cart, and no one suspects her. She takes advantage of being there to steal the emergency key from one of the guards without him noticing. At the same time, the music teacher is playing for the patients to entertain them a bit. Wednesday sneaks into Fester and gets him out of the cell where they had locked him up with a zombie as a threat. But after they leave, the zombie manages to free itself and attacks the guards who were walking with Lauren. She escapes before it reaches her, and during her escape, she spots Wednesday. The alarm sirens go off, and all the security guards grab their weapons to face the threat. Wednesday and Fester reach the maintenance room, but the emergency key she has doesn't work. That's when Fester enters the numbers the parrot was saying, and they turn out to be the door's code. They go down into the basement and are shocked to find that all the patients who were declared dead are actually alive, but imprisoned and experimented on. At At that moment, the mysterious person arrives, and the surprise is that it's Dr. Fairborn's assistant. She tells them, "I'm the real director here, but to keep things running without suspicion, I appointed Dr. Fairborn as director. In short, she works for me. My greater mission is to continue the work of my father, Augustus. My goal is to extract powers from people like you and give them to normal people, just like my father did with me and gave me the ability to control crows." At that moment, Fester surprises her and shocks her with electricity, knocking her unconscious. But because of what he did, the electricity shuts down across the entire hospital, and the patients manage to escape their prison. Not only that, but they also go after Louise, since she's the one responsible for their presence here and for all the experiments she carried out on them. Wednesday refuses to escape alone and feels a connection with that patient, so she takes her with her. This makes us wonder, could this woman be her aunt? Meanwhile, Lauren takes advantage of the chaos, grabs a key from one of the guards, and goes to free Tyler. As she does, she tells him, "I've never given up on you." But Tyler replies, "It doesn't matter, because you're the reason I'm here in the first place." He gets furious with her and is about to finish her off. Lauren tells him, "I'm on your side, I'm with you, but your real enemy is Wednesday, and she's here now." Tyler responds, "I'll take care of Wednesday, but after I take care of you first," and he transforms into a monster and kills her in a fit of rage. At the same time, Dr. Fairborn runs to her office to hide, but she's shocked to find the zombie there with her, and it finishes her off too. Then it goes after Augustus and eats him as well. Wednesday tries to escape with the patient, but she's shocked when Tyler, now a monster, charges at her at full speed. She tells the patient to run right away before her life ends, and Wednesday stands her ground in front of Tyler, showing incredible courage, unafraid of him. Tyler, enraged, attacks her and throws her from the second floor. The first part of the series ends with the police arriving at the scene and opening fire on Tyler, but he escapes and leaves Wednesday lying on the ground, struggling to stay alive. Her mind is full of her mother's words, realizing that maybe her mom was right, that by chasing after the criminal, she ended up ruining everything instead of finding solutions. And with that, we're left waiting for the next chapter to find out, will Wednesday survive after this fall? And has her pursuit of the criminal really put Enid's life in danger? We'll find out all of this in the next part.